and welcome to the DefSec 2022 podcast, sponsored by Cisco. I'm Alan Dale, my good buddy Jerry Carew. We are so happy to be in conversation here at DefSec, and I want to tell you, guy gave me this business card. It's got to be the coolest business card I've ever seen. Pretty simple, pretty plain, catches your eye, and it makes you want to talk to him. Aaron Short, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself.
All right, thanks for that. That was a great introduction. I'm Aaron. I'm the CEO and founder of Beeline. So we're a workplace and access management platform. So we help people reintegrate back, essentially deal with their transition to hybrid workplaces. You know, people have these assets, these offices, or these industrial spaces that are all being used differently since the pandemic. And so we use IoT devices, access controls, computer vision to help them really look at how the space is being used and optimize it efficiently in order to increase their ROI on their assets.
Aaron, that sounds amazing, and you made it sound pretty easy. How did you find yourself doing this type of work? What's your background?
So I never thought I would be the founder of a tech company, but so I was working as an urban planner in Toronto, and essentially we would have to do a lot of designing of new developments and campuses and spaces, but it was all based off of like very kind of spotty data, and then you would get very bad design based off of the data that you were using. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall that it was like, okay, if design is really going to be based on analytics, and how do you apply technology to solve these problems that we can't just guess at, right? So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. I was working with an engineer on a PhD project at the U of T, and we decided to try and commercialize this. And then, 6 years later, we're in 88 countries. So.
Oh my God, 88 countries.
In 6 years.
You said that pretty fast. Because you're in 88 countries.
Yeah, we have some channel partners that like to push us to their friends in different countries. The majority of our work is in Canada, but we are distributed in 88 countries, yeah.
Now, Aaron, there'd be plenty of people in this room that would want to hear your message. They'd want to know what it's all about, because you nailed it, right? A lot of people are now coming back to work, looking at what that's going to look like, what their bricks and mortar are, how are they going to work effectively in the future. There's a real challenge here to get talent. Right, everybody's after talent, and everybody is looking at how do they make the best workspace for people to work in. How do they make themselves the employer of choice is a word that's often used. What's your value proposition to the people in the room? How do you help them?
Well, I think a lot of people have these hybrid workplace strategies, but people aren't coming in 5 days a week. So people want flexibility, but nobody has figured out the right balance of that, like what works best for their organization, right? So really what we do is we would put in sensors and be like, cool, how about we let the data decide what's best for your office based off of how people are coming in, when they want to come in. And then we look at how the space is being used. So, if you have not enough desks or too many desks on certain days, really kind of helping people manage that, but all based off of like data-driven insights. So that's really kind of how we do this, because a lot of people, if we deal with defense or the government or hospitals, right, they have these real estate assets that they want to keep. But the problem is they don't have any data on how they're being used on a daily basis.
Right.
And so that's the problem that we solve, right? So we go in, and it'll take us about a year to really give them some baseline data, because we can't tell you what your problems are. We have to look at what the data says and be like, okay, these are the patterns that we're seeing based off of this, use these different strategies. And then that will obviously change during different seasons. So people, travel differently when they go to buildings in the summer as opposed to the winter. Right. Things ebb and flow. And so we just allow operators and owners and occupiers just to kind of understand the ever-changing needs of their organization.
Sorry, so just so I understand, you download an app, the employee downloads an app, and then you track them that way?
Well, it's their access card.
Right.
So we digitize their access card, and their access card is also how they book their parking space, how their desks, how they communicate with the property manager. If there's any emergency, it's all communicated through. It's essentially the remote control for the building. Right?
You know what's interesting? Alan, a very, very successful businessman said to me one time, business is about process. I actually have never thought, the business you're in, I've never given any thought to that, the flow, and you're using data. Like, this is fascinating.
Fantastic stuff. It sounds amazing. So if I were a company like Lockheed Martin and I say, yeah, I want to figure this out, I've got a big operation here, I'm not sure how it's going to look in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, how would they engage you, and what would that process look like?
Well, they can send me an email.
Yep.
My email is Aaron, Aaron, at Beeline, BLINE.io. They can check out our website, which is www.beeline.io as well.
Yep.
And that's how you get in touch with us. Thanks for having me on the show.
Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure.
This is great.
A lot of these companies in this room make a lot of decisions based on data,
Yeah.
so they're no stranger to that thought process. But I think you are bringing a different conversation to them, and I wish you the best of luck at the show. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much, Emma. This has been great.